Hi everyone, and welcome to our Bible teaching ministry. How have you been taught? I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Alan.
And today we're coming back to the teaching in the Gospel of John. We're in chapter 5, and we're going to continue at verse 33.
Yeah, and just as a
Yes,
backdrop,
thank you.
Jesus had healed a man who was invalid for 38 years. And he did it on the Sabbath, and that got the ire up of a lot of people.
Yeah.
They wanted to kill Jesus for doing that. So Jesus takes the rest of the chapter to make his
Right.
to share what his thoughts are on the whole matter. And we're jumping in the middle of that conversation that he's having. So if you want to take the Bible and join us, we're in John chapter 5, and we'll be starting at verse 33.
33. Okay.
Go ahead, sweetheart.
So Jesus is saying, you yourselves have sent an inquiry to John, and he has been a witness to the truth. We're talking about John the Baptist here. But I do not receive a mere human witness. The evidence which I accept on my behalf is not from men. But I simply mention all these things in order that you may be saved, made and kept safe and sound.
One more.
John was the lamp that kept on burning and shining to show you the way. And you were willing for a while to delight yourselves in his light.
Yeah. So, were they listening to John the Baptist?
Well, they were.
Yeah,
That's
at
what's
least
interesting.
initially, yeah. But then they seemed to be, once Jesus came onto the scene, they didn't seem to warm up to him, so to speak, and they were rejecting him.
There's jealousy in there. There's probably all kinds of, I don't know.
Yeah, now John the Baptist's job was to point to Jesus, which he did, and they initially were maybe okay with that, but does Jesus rely solely on the testimony of a man, or does Jesus look for more than just
more than that?
Yeah.
Of course,
what does ultimately do you think he
it's
was?
God the Father.
God the Father's endorsement. So let's read on and see. Yeah.
35 we just did. 36. But I have as my witness something greater than that of John, for the works that the Father has appointed me to accomplish and finish, the very same works that I am now doing, are a witness and proof that the Father has sent me.
So here they are. They're upset that Jesus does a miracle on the Sabbath, and they miss the point that he's God and he's doing miracles in front of them as a sign that, hey, look
They're
at
blind.
who I am.
Yeah.
I've got the endorsement of God the Father. In addition to John the Baptist, he has man's testimony, but he also has the witness of God the Father. And,
exactly.
And that's the point that Jesus is bringing out to these religious people who are so upset with him, they want to kill him.
Yeah, you see how blinded. And the Father who sent me has himself testified concerning me. Not one of you has ever given ear to his voice or seen his form, his face, what he is like. You have always been deaf to his voice and blind to the vision of him. Completely.
That's kind of a strong statement Jesus is making about their
truth.
lack of relationship with God.
Yeah.
Is Jesus like direct?
Very direct. Again, the character of Jesus. Of Jesus.
If we want to be like Jesus, are we going to be a little bit more inclined to be direct and not passive when it comes to pointing out people's lack of relationship?
Because a lot of people think what would Jesus do is just be soft and a doormat, but which is not the case. Direct and firm.
Very true.
In a loving way. But
the important thing with the WWJD is, we want to be like Jesus, but we want to know who Jesus is like. Sometimes we can justify and have this concept of what Jesus is like, but is it the biblical Jesus? And, it's important to recognize who Jesus was. Now he was, very direct in what he was saying, but he wasn't being hateful or malicious. But it's true, and he's speaking truth. He's not afraid to speak truth.
In boldness.
Yeah.
And you have not his word, his thought living in your hearts, because you do not believe and adhere to and trust in and rely on him who he has sent. That's why you don't keep his message living in you, because you do not believe in the messenger who he has sent. You search and investigate and pore over the scriptures diligently, because you suppose and trust that you have eternal life through them, and these very scriptures testify about me.
So again,
they swear by the, if I may say, by the scriptures. They know it by heart, probably, because they study
very
it
much so.
inside out.
Yeah.
But what do they know?
They missed the point.
What do they know?
Missed the main theme.
It's
So Jesus, again, he's really excoriating them and saying, here you are, your nose is in the scriptures, and, it's the very thing that's testifying of me, and you're missing it.
Yep.
So how sad is that?
And it's sad that today there's so many religious people, if I may say, religious quote unquote.
Yeah, a lot of people in religious positions, and they're not respected by people in the world because of their lack of integrity and lack of.
It's very sad.
Very similar today that what Jesus lived in, and Jesus was not warmly received by the majority of the religious people, and they were seeing him as not the Son of God, that's for sure.
No, they hated him.
Yeah,
that's
and they were wanting to kill him.
Yeah. So 40,
so
right?
On,
yeah. And still you are not willing, but refuse to come to me so that you might have life. And he's talking about the eternal life. Yeah. What's important.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember the very beginning of the gospel, John, the apostle, pointed out that he is the source of life. Yeah. And, Jesus is verifying that, you're not coming to me, and I'm the source of life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I receive not glory from man. I crave no human honor. I look for no mortal fame, but I know you and recognize and understand that you have not the love of God in you.
Yeah,
there's no love of God.
Yeah.
I have come in my Father's name and with his power, and you do not receive me. Your hearts are not open to me, and you give me no welcome. But if another comes in his own name and his own power and with no other authority but himself, you will receive him and give him your approval. Who is he talking about, honey?
The man of sin, the Antichrist.
The Antichrist,
So Jesus comes in his Father's name, doing miracles, and they're rejecting him.
Yeah.
And the time will come, with the Jews in particular, they'll be around, and when the man of sin comes along, also known as the Antichrist, he's going to come in his own name.
Yeah.
And in his own power and in his own authority, not in God's authority. And he'll be well received.
Yeah.
And that's what Jesus is talking about here.
Very sad, yeah.
And even beyond just the Antichrist in the future, I mean, so often people today, they'll reject Jesus, but yet they'll be open to the slightest new wave of wind of doctrine that comes along, and it's dangerous.
Yeah, very.
But basically, if you reject the truth, it talks about in 1 Thessalonians that I think that's a reference, that God will send strong delusion. If you're going to reject the truth, God will send strong delusion that you will believe a lie.
Yeah.
And that's talking about
the goal.
lie.
And that's the goal of the enemy. He wants to pull people, to
let them be spiritually blind and to deceive them. And these very people, the religious ones, that they're not aware of the truth.
Yeah. Exactly.
So keep going, sweetie.
44. I believe,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How is it possible for you to believe? How can you learn to believe? You who are content to seek and receive praise and honor and glory from one another, and yet do not seek the praise and honor and glory which comes from him who alone is God. Exactly.
So their focus put importance is on other people and looking good. Yeah, keep on reading, sweetie.
Put out of your minds the thought, and do not suppose, as some of you are supposing, that I will accuse you before the Father. There is one who accuses you. It is Moses, the very one on whom you have built your hopes.
Yeah.
For if you believed and relied on Moses, you would believe and rely on me, for he wrote about me personally.
Exactly. Keep on going.
But if you do not believe and trust his writings, how then will you believe and trust my teachings?
Yeah, Amen. Exactly.
It's as simple as that.
They were proud of the fact that, we well versed in Moses and what his teachings are, and Jesus is like, he's the one who testifies of me. So you're self-condemning yourself by saying, I'm exposed to the truth, and then you're not believing the very truth that's pointing out that they're spiritually blind, and it's sad. And Jesus points that out. Again, Jesus is very direct about the truth.
Yeah.
He doesn't skate around things and
that's it. Go
and
on.
it's kind of the perception that people have about Jesus. It's not who Jesus is.
That's right.
Jesus is direct. He speaks the truth in love, but it's about getting to know who Jesus is and knowing the truth. So we're glad to share, and we're running short on time. We're grateful for
you. Thank you for your feedback. Write to us on how have you been taught, how our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and send us your requests and prayers and comments and ideas. We welcome all of you.
Share with a friend, and be in the Word and be encouraged. And
be in the Word.
We're glad to help you.
Get
and
close to Jesus.
You.
Yes.
Absolutely. We hear many great testimonies, and we're grateful.
God bless you all.
Have
Thank
a great
you.
evening.
Bye.
Bye.